Jasmine here, and I am loving this update so much better. And I just wanted to do a quick video to share with you some notes. One, I think this base is like really so great and close. I'm curious, did you paint this by hand? Because if so, that's super impressive. So this base is looking good. The only thing I'll say is, compared to the reference, it's getting a little bit more of this like royal blue saturation there, but I actually don't mind it. It creates a nice variation. If I'm looking at this inner area here, I see what you're trying to do with kind of darkening this area, but it's just looking a little bit like discoloration compared to, I'm looking at the reference, and if you look at, there's really no hue difference between these two areas, where here it feels like a very different kind of more greenish color here. So I would bring this back closer to what you have at the base here, and then to darken it, it would be like super subtle, just soften the pupil area, maybe like with the more feathered darker blue area here to kind of create that more of a grad. And then the other thing I'll say is the biggest thing I'm seeing is the shape here is spot on. It's really great. The color though is a kind of a mismatch from what your reference is, where the hue here is pretty similar to what the base is, where the hue here is drastically different. So I would you can keep the shaping and everything. I would bring back the color though closer to this hue, but a little bit lighter, similar to what we're seeing here with these light spots. And in this line, which I love, you're kind of getting it here. It feels a little bit blurred and feathered compared to this is more of a distinct line. That's something really minor, but if you're in there, then take a look at that. And then the other thing is I'll say is the outside here is kind of all over the place in that, it's getting a little bit lighter here, and it almost seems like we're seeing the backstage. Like you're not supposed to be seeing this, right? So if you look at your reference, it's darker. It has this kind of darker blue ring around it, and I'd love to see that around here. And then also, speaking of the sclera area, the white area, it's getting a lot of blue bleed, which feels like a big disconnect because we're not getting the blue here in the iris. So one, I would tighten that up or get rid of it altogether, depending on what you do. I could definitely see if you tighten that up, you get that nice little feathering, softened area, so that'd be nice, but you have to tie it in with this part. But overall, I think this is such a huge improvement from the first iteration, and I can't wait to see what's up next. So let's go to your procedural. Woohoo. Okay. One, I love this. It's so graphic. And like part of me, this is the best thing about computer animation and CG and this industry is depending what you're going for, you can be as you have artistic license, right? You can go as graphic as you want. Like when I say you use this as a reference, you don't have to always go exactly. Like multiple times I'll have a couple of references, and I'm not trying to match it exactly. I'm taking like elements, a kind of inspiration from each reference to create my own thing. And this is what this kind of reminds me of is just like a great interpretation using this as a reference, but creating own your own visual of this eye, your own style. And I gotta say, I really love this style. I don't want you to do that much because I really like it. If you're trying to go realistic, then there probably are notes, but I'm loving this. Like just graphic, and the fact that you did procedurally. I hope you're loving procedural and all the things you can get from it. The one thing that I will say with this is, so it's feeling in the darks, it's very black, right? It's kind of this it's definitely getting the value there of the darks, but the hue, it's a very black black, kind of gray, and I'm not feeling the color bleed from what the color is. When you look at the darks that are happening in the eyes here, it's not black. It's not pure black, right? It's got color. It's got, if I were to color check this, it'll probably be more blue green, less red, but it's kind of this kind of darker hue of whatever that iris is. So that'd be great if you could introduce. It's similar to shadows. When I don't know if you've gotten to that part, but like when you are looking at shadows, look at a shadow. No shadow is just black, right? It always has color information in there. It's always tinted some kind of color, blues, reds, greens, depending on what the environment is. So the same thing holds true for this. It's very rarely that it just goes straight to black. So to introduce some color in here will kind of liven this up, and I think really bring it to the next level. Um, that's it. Like I said, I really like this. If I were to be saying it should match this more realistic thing, then I'd say, these lines are a little bit too defined. It's a little bit too graphic. Where here it's a lot more softened. These shapes are a little bit too uniform. Here it's like you see more organic, more variation, things like that. Here we're seeing a more different coloring with introducing different colors. You could play with it here if you wanted. But again, I love this graphic procedural. So do what you want, and I really think just adding some of the color into the dark areas will really help it a lot. And maybe this might be too harsh on this dark area. Maybe pull it back a little bit, um, just because if I squint, it's really like I'm seeing this outline of dark here, that if you had this eyeball from far away, it would actually hinder the clarity of reading that eye. So, some things to think about. Overall, great job, and I will talk to you later. Have a great day. Happy lighting.